everyone, this is Cindy Cashmere at C2C Gallery, and today we are hosting a talk with Mark Mehaffey. I am clearly in my living room in Michigan, and Mark is upstairs. Well, his studio is upstairs, but he's in northern Michigan. So Mark, say hi.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
So one thing that's a little different this time is my partner here who helps me with videos, she's not here today, and my screen is set up just a little bit differently, and it's only Mark and I. So we're, I think, going to see each of us nonstop the whole time. And so it is what it is. If you joined us ever for artist talks in the gallery, we would just be easygoing. It's just a conversation. People could interrupt us, ask questions, and we just kind of go with it. So Mark has been with the gallery for about, what, 7 years maybe? Something like that.
Yeah, at least 7. Could be 8 or 9 years. I lose track.
Yeah, me too. And Mark was a teacher for Lansing Public Schools, and he retired from there. And he would paint, as far as I know, Mark paints almost 7 days a week. I think he does take breaks every once in a while, but he's always been a serious painter. And he is a member of several artist societies across the world. He's known internationally. He has taught in a variety of places all over the world. He's had fabulous experiences by being an artist and being able to do that. He's published 2 or 3 books. He's also created numerous, what?
Yeah. 2 books.
2 books. He's done numerous instructional videos. And we just truly enjoy having him when he comes down to Lower Michigan. And with that, let's see here. We, in the past, we've talked about all kinds of things. But today I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit more about, like, how do you get in the process of painting? A couple things are, like, I know what I do to start my day off right. I try to get up in the morning. I try to do a little reading, journal, get some exercise, and eat breakfast, and then I'm ready to go in my studio. So what do you do?
Yeah, okay. So, I've found over the years that when you work, that results in more work. So what I do is I consider this my job. Going to the studio is my job. I sometimes come up here even when I don't feel like it. Because if we wait around for inspiration and when we feel like it, then we never get to work. So I get to work. It's almost 7 days a week. I take more time now that we're in northern Michigan to play. So hike and fish and enjoy the outdoors. But otherwise, going to the studio is my job. And so I found that when I'm working, whatever that may be, whatever I'm working on, that always gives me ideas for more work. And so I just kind of file the next step or a tangent or a road that I haven't traveled down, and I file that, and then when I come back to the studio, I never lack for something to do. There's always work to be done. There's always the next series, the next idea, the next visual thing that hit my head that I want to test out, and so it's just work and then more work. And then you get ideas while you're working, and so that leads to more work, and on and on and on and on, and then you die.
Oh, really? So do you find yourself, sometimes I think of an idea, and I think, oh, this is a great idea. I'm not going to forget it. And then I go in the studio, and I'll go, what was that again? Do you find that happening to you, or do you pretty much, do you keep it in your head?
Yeah, in terms of being in the studio and working, the focus is pretty strong. In the rest of my life, maybe not so much. So like a lot of people close to my age, a little forgetful, or my head gets filled with things that I have to do or want to do. And so something else, you put something new in, something old has to go out. So a little forgetful, but in terms of artwork, in terms of what I'm about visually, I don't forget very often.
Okay, all right. Do you work from images, like as you're out and about hiking or fishing, or do you take pictures on your phone or on a camera, or do you carry a sketchbook with you and do you sketch? What do you do? And I'm assuming that there's probably a variety of ways depending on how large do you want the painting to be, or that type of thing.
What the idea is.
Right.
So it's all driven by ideas. So a significant portion of my work, almost half, is non-objective, internally driven, design-based. So that would be mixed water media, gouache, acrylic, crayons, transparent watercolor, usually on paper, but sometimes on canvas. And that's all from the inside of me. So I get an idea. Yeah, that's a good example of a non-objective painting with representational imagery included. Can I have the top painting? So this would be an example of totally non-objective, although there is some verbiage, hidden meanings. So the title for this is "This Too Shall Pass." Yeah, I'll hold it this way too. I'm not sure how well the viewer can see that, but it's a half sheet, totally non-objective. It would be real difficult to find any representational imagery there. But all of this kind of work, can I have one more? Is from within. And so this is like a compartment. I don't work on these every day, but these paintings go on and have gone on for years and years. Well, there's another one.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, playing on the blue-orange complementary color thing.
Yep.
And a pretty strong cruciform design. So they're kind of design-based, and so that's one compartment. But the outdoors and what I see visually sometimes also is the impetus behind a significant portion of other work. So camera comes into play, sketchbook comes into play, and sometimes neither one of those come into play. I just start. Just depends.
Now, and I know that you do a lot of plein air paintings, and plein air means basically going outside and painting what you see and doing it all in one stand.
One go.
Yep. Yeah. And do any of these plein air paintings ever become another painting once you're back in the studio and you say, okay, I want to take this a step further, or I don't like how this turned out, so I want to do it again?
Yeah, plein air painting is difficult. My goal is different than some plein air painters. Some plein air painters, their goal is to replicate what they see. Mm-hmm. And of course, if they're good at that and what they see is beautiful, well, they end up with a beautiful painting. My goal is a little different. My goal is to not necessarily find the perfect spot. I usually set up at the first place that catches my eye. Maybe the way light hits something, it may be subtlety of color or value. And I set up there, and then my goal is just to make the best painting I can make at that time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not. So the good ones become studies sometimes for larger studio work, or they stand alone. They're plein air work. I have a couple I can show you.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're small. So let's go with this one. We had bonfire snacks on the beach of Lake Michigan with some friends. And I took my paints. Oh. So this was as the sun was setting on the shores of Lake Michigan in Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore. Mm-hmm. And I just set up, and everybody was talking all around me and having snacks, and I did this quick 12x9 painting in acrylic. Will I do a larger one? Maybe. Yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And then this was Rosie, my wife Rosie, my beautiful studio assistant, who's off camera and is not coming on camera.
No, all about that.
Yeah, she was walking our Keshi, our dog, our poodle. And so I did a quick 8x6 painting of her as she walked up the road in our village. And this painting took best of show in the Northport plein air painting event just last week.
Now, wait a second. You've done another painting of the two of them walking, because I think I've seen it before.
A bunch of paintings of the two, because I walk with them, and sometimes I take my paints and I'll set my paints up, and I say, go up there, you're my model. So they model for me. Yeah. And I don't have to pay them much.
That's true. And of
Yeah.
course, if you can see in my photograph, or I should say my screen, you can see Mark's painting of a a sunset. And then there's two smaller paintings here that I just really like. This one that's the tree. It's the oak by the water. It's just a quiet painting.
That's plein air.
And was it? And then the trees one, I think, is a little bit more abstracted, impressionistic. I just really like the colors and the composition of that one. And they're smaller paintings, and they're very, easy to purchase. Because I think they're like 250 to 500, that price range thereabouts.
Somewhere in there. And the larger one was a sunset on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, and it's just gorgeous. My sitting right here, it doesn't do it justice, but at different times of the day, that painting just glows. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
To go to a new home. So I was thinking about when you talk about the decisions you make. I'm going to jump back to abstracts again because you've got a couple there with you. So talk about the decisions in the process when you're painting and creating non-representational, and as you like to say, you're working between your ears.
That one, Rosie, the black one. Yeah, so this painting is currently on display with the National Watercolor Society's 100th year anniversary. And because of COVID, of course, we did not have to send the actual painting in. We uploaded the file, and there were over 1,000 entries, of course, and not very many paintings accepted, but the jurors had a really tough job because they had to do all of the judging via digital files. And so your show is a virtual digital show. You just Google National Watercolor Society 100th anniversary, and you can see marvelous water media paintings in that show.
Okay,
so
just a minute. So that's all watercolor?
No, this is water media. So it's transparent watercolor gouache, which is opaque watercolor, and then my cursive, which is added in graphite as part of the design.
Okay, so then your cursive, you've written that, whatever, how you've gotten it on the paper, and then you've started blocking things and adding other elements.
Yeah, and for this whole series of paintings, I don't use a brush very often. I paint with rollers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
3 and 4 inch rollers, and then I use various stencils that I've collected over the years so that I can either roll around an area or roll within an area, so I could do both positive and negative space as I go. And I don't pre-plan the design. I jump in knowing that both transparent watercolor and gouache can be easily removed because they're resoluble in water.
So what did you write on that painting?
I wrote over and over again, no answers, only questions.
Oh, okay.
That's the title.
Okay. And you've done other paintings.
At a distance, it becomes a texture, but close up, you can read it.
Uh-huh. And I know I've seen other paintings of yours where you've done that, where you have your script in the paintings, and it's always something that's relevant with what's going on right now.
Yeah, sometimes even secret hidden messages are very cryptic, and you'd have to know me to get what I was getting at, or just a few people would know exactly what I meant and kind of get a chuckle out of the piece. Yeah, and sometimes I'll hide little things in these paintings, and somebody will find them later.
Right. Now, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball, but I know you can handle it. Your fish paintings.
Yes.
Do you have any close by?
I have one right here. Oh, my studio assistant is not going to walk in front of the camera, so let me just get up. No, there's no way.
Okay, so I'm going to just fill people in while you're getting this out. So Mark likes to fish, and my understanding of these paintings is that he will skin the fish.
No.
No?
I just catch the fish and kill the fish.
Don't you use the body of the fish to then
I don't skin it. I just bring the whole fish into my studio.
Okay.
So I started fishing when I was 5. I started painting when I was 10. So there's a 5-year gap there where I've been fishing longer than I've been painting. So I love to fish. And so quite a few years ago, probably because of the year I spent in Japan when I was 5, I started bringing my fishing and my painting together. So I started creating gyataku, which is Japanese for fish print. And what I do is when I went fishing, I would sacrifice a fish, bring it to the studio, wipe off the slime, dry it off, put it on a piece of cardboard, pin up the fins, pin out the tail, paint it with acrylic quickly, and then roll a piece of paper over it to create a print. And then I would come up with a nice fish print, but then I would create a painting around it. So they turn out like this. This has my cursive in it as well. So it's a non-objective painting, but it also includes the gyataku, the fish print in acrylic.
Okay.
It's become a whole series because to be able to do this work, I have to go fishing.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
So did your mother like freak out when you were bringing fish home and trying different techniques out?
No, nobody freaks out about anything I do anymore.
Right. No, but I meant when you were young.
Oh, when I was younger? Okay. So when I was younger, if there were people fishing and somebody caught a fish, my mother would go up to them and say, "Hey, can I try a cast with your fishing rod?" And of course they'd say, "Sure," and my mother wouldn't give the fishing rod back.
Oh.
Mother fished also.
Okay.
Yeah, she carried her a chair and a fishing rod in the back of her car.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
You remember that you've done. How do you know when a painting's done?
Yeah, I give this advice often. I wish I could take my own advice. What I say to other painters who ask me this, I say the first time it enters your head to be done, stop. So I try to take that advice. What I do is if I stare at it for any length of time past a couple minutes, then I figure I maybe should let that painting sit. So as it gets close to being done, before I sign it, I hang it up on the wall or I leave it on one of my work tables and I go on to something else. And as I'm working on something else, of course, I'm walking by this painting and I'm looking at this painting, and that can go on for a week or two. If I don't see anything that needs changing, then I sign it.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll go, well, now why did I do that? Or this needs this, and I'll pull it down, do that, finish it, sign it. But I'll always let it sit for a week or two before I make that final decision. Is it done? And it's better to quit a little too early than overwork something.
Okay. So I know you've got a couple of the paintings sitting there outside of the screen. Why don't you show me what you were thinking about, what you wanted to show us today?
Sure. Okay. So I'll just go through either small acrylic paintings that were done in the studio from photographic references, but not from the photograph. So when I take a photographic reference, I take that photograph and then I redraw it, simplify it, assign values in my sketchbook, and I paint from the sketchbook. In plein air, I do the same thing. I just don't physically do the sketch. I just do it in my head because nature offers too much information. And so it's my job to simplify that. So I'll just hold up a few of these. They're small acrylics. Some are plein air, some are studio. And I won't tell you which is which because I'm after the same look. So this is just a small 8x6. Quickly done. Yeah. And then 9x12, which seems to be one of my standard sizes for smaller work anyway.
All right. And I know that one is online on our website right now.
It's available. Yep, it's in my studio. Yep.
I would assume that one was not plein air. You did that one in the studio.
Yeah, that was studio. This one was plein air. I'm not sure if this is online or not, but a boatyard. Again, 12 by 9.
Uh-huh.
That was the shadows that grabbed me. This was plein air also.
Oh, nice. So the last time I was driving up to your house, I I had intended to say, oh, Mark needs to come here and he needs to see if he thinks that's a great spot to paint. There's two. There was one going south that was this big field with a farm off, in the distance. And I thought, oh, you could really abstract that and make that interesting. And then further down, there's an old graveyard that has cedar trees surrounding part of the graveyard. And I believe that it was a belief that cedar trees would protect the souls of the people that are buried. So if you go to a lot of old time cemeteries, you will see cedar trees planted around the area. And I thought, oh, that could be a cool painting too. But anyway.
It could be. So this looks like it was plein air, but it was actually studio. So very tonal for me. I usually push color quite a bit, but the values are closer together and kind of a muted palette. But that's what I wanted to accomplish with this painting.
Right.
Yep. And then this one was done just a couple days ago. Backpack on my back and a hike into the National Lakeshore Park, and on the side of one of the small lakes in the park. So an old cedar tree that was dead long ago and sticking up out of the water.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I thought about putting a dragonfly up there, but just too cute. Yeah. Yep. So, and then warm summer morning. So I kept a lot of the warm undertones, the reds and that.
So that day, was it actually somewhat reddish outside?
Not so much that it was reddish. It was very warm and humid. Early in the morning, I bet you the temperature was already 75 degrees, going up to 90 that day with high humidity, lots of atmosphere. So I kept a lot of the red.
Okay.
To sort of relate that.
All right. So in your history of painting, have you ever painted within the current favorite colors?
Describe the current favorite colors. What are they? I
don't know. Around here, people are so neutral that everything's in grays and whites and things like that. And
yeah, I'm not into trends too much. I'm kind of into the idea that I have in my head that I'd like to accomplish. Sometimes I set myself a problem, and sometimes that problem indicates neutrals or warm and cool grays, and other times very saturated color. It just sort of depends on what I have in my head when brush comes out. But I do use a split primary palette most of the time. I'll add to it. So that just means I have a warm and a cool of each of the primaries. So a warm and cool yellow, warm and cool red, warm and cool blue, plus black and white, at least in acrylic. And watercolor too, I'm going to say 85 to 90% of my work gets done with those 8 pigments. But I feel free. I have lots of others, just like every artist. There's tons of tubes of paint in the studio. And if it calls for something that I can't exactly mix with those, then I feel free to squirt that out too.
Mm-hmm. I truly believe that if someone sees a piece of original art and they like it, they're going to be able to find a place in their home or office where it will work. Because if it resonates with them, they'll find a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you brought this up, because I've had this discussion with many artists and patrons and collectors of my work. If you truly love the artwork, then buy it.
Yep.
Take it home. You will find an appropriate place for that artwork. So we do the same thing. We buy artwork. A lot of artists do. And so we have artwork under the bed, in my storeroom, in all the other rooms in the house. And we just trade out depending on what it is we'd like to see. But if we love something, we buy it and then bring it to the house, and we find a nice place for it. Yeah.
Right. So that leads me to, we used to have lots of people that would ask us, how do I know I'm buying a good piece of art? How do I trust myself? And other times we've had people come into the gallery and they've said, well, will this be worth more money in the future? And I'm always saying to people, you should love it first. And if you do love it, it's probably because things are working well within the painting. The composition works, the colors or things like that. So what do you like? I'm sure you've had people say things to you or ask questions many times.
Yeah. It's, it's good advice that you're giving. I don't think we have ever purchased a piece of art with the anticipation that it would increase in value over time. We buy artwork because we actually love it and we want to live with it. And people can tell, even people that don't have an formal art education, if you walk into a gallery, certain paintings draw your attention. You're drawn to that particular, whether it's a abstract or a representational work. And if you truly love it, then I wouldn't worry about the rest of it because it's worth the money.
Right. No, I agree. I always said that too. It's like maybe you need to walk away for 15 minutes, a half hour, go have lunch, and if it's still talking to you, you should buy it.
Yeah, I'm sure this has happened to you. Somebody will walk in and they'll love a piece and they'll talk to their spouse about it or their significant other, and they'll go away for a couple of days, come back, and it's gone. Somebody else loved it. Somebody else bought it. Yeah, that happens frequently.
Yeah, it does happen. And so you do have to kind of go, well, yes or no.
Yep.
Some people question the price. And one of the things that I've done, and I know you do this too, is you try to stay fairly consistent with your pricing based on size. Many artists do like a per square inch or things like that, but then they use that as a guideline. If everything was working that day and there's something that just really special came out, you might increase the price. Do you do that?
No, I don't do that, but there are a few paintings through the years where everything clicked. It was a landmark work or some kind of breakthrough, and I just don't sell those. I keep them. But if it's in the same series, if it's the same size, my prices have gradually increased, of course, through the years. Most artists' paintings will do that, but I'm absolutely consistent. So if you buy a painting from you, it's going to be the same price as you buy a painting from me or one of my other galleries. I'm absolutely consistent with sizes and prices across the board. I think that's the only fair thing to be. I will occasionally give a little lower price if it's a plein air piece, just because I didn't take the time and extra work of a studio piece. And then there's the friends and family. Sometimes I'll give family a little discount.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to keep your prices consistent across the board.
Oh, definitely. I coach all artists to do that. Someone who is a collector should not be able to go into a different gallery and see artwork
Right.
are just at different price points. It's just
Exactly.
not fair. Let's see here. I was thinking about something else here. Oh, do you think that, and I know what I believe, but do you think that it's good for people who are not artists to try and be creative? Should they try to paint? Should they, we've done these, 2-hour classes and things like that, and people go, I can't paint, but then sometimes they do actually come up with something that's pretty interesting.
We're all artists at heart. I mean, I taught for 30 years in the public school system, and the last 5 years of my career, I taught kindergarten through 5th grade art. And all you have to do is get the little kids started, because they're all artists. It's just magical to them, and they get to play with stuff that's loads of fun, and they're very creative. And then somewhere along the line, somebody says something, they start thinking, they worry too much what other people think, and a lot of people just grow out of being creative, whereas we all start very creative. We all start as artists, and I think that there's an artist within everybody.
Oh, I
I
think so too.
I never grew up basically.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, and my studio assistant is over here laughing off camera because she agrees with me.
Yeah, and she had to be serious. She was the banker in the family.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, I
Um,
don't know the numbers very well. She does the numbers.
yes, I know that. Um, see, I was trying to think, what else haven't we talked about? You did tell us about that you do actually keep some paintings that you feel are your best.
Yeah, they're matted and framed in the house. Maybe they were in a significant exhibition. Maybe they won a big award. Maybe they were a landmark painting that either ended or began a series that I was very satisfied with. But over the years, we've kept a few, and also over the years, I've sold a few that I wish I hadn't sold. That happens too.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Do you have any big projects or something that you is kind of like gnawing at the back of your head and you really kind of want to go in that direction and try?
Are you sure you want to go there?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I showed you off camera last week one of them. So I have a long series. I'm looking for a proper venue, and this series has been going on for quite a few years. I'm maybe 10 or 12 or 13 paintings into it. But they're very large watercolors, somewhere in the neighborhood of 27 by 35, most of them. And they're kind of strange in that they're close up to weird things that people on this planet eat. As the population increases, protein and the procurement of good food is going to become a bigger issue. A lot of things are going to become a bigger issue because of overpopulation. And so we've started to eat some pretty weird forms of protein. And a lot of us eat pretty weirdly anyway. And so it's a long ongoing series that I've not shared very much at all, that I'm kind of sitting on, just waiting for the proper venue. And I know that the listeners or the people that are looking in wish that I would hold up one of those. Just,
Yes.
yep. Mm-hmm.
So what's the strangest protein you've consumed?
Yeah, me, probably bamboo worms from China and eels. What else? Crickets. Oh, that's not that strange. Bamboo worms, eels, small eels. Actually, they're very tasty, but most people wouldn't eat them. And then, China has a huge population, and so they eat everything. And when we were there, we've been there 3 times. When we were there, I ate everything. But everybody that traveled with me did not.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've eaten some pretty strange things, but generally, if people eat it on the planet, whether it's Italy, France, England, Scotland, anywhere that would Japan, if it's served, I eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's the next place you would like to teach?
Well, as of right now, because of COVID, almost all teaching has gone virtual. We're lucky in northern Michigan that we don't have very many cases. People seem to be doing the mask thing, and especially indoors. You seldom see anybody without a mask up here. Outdoors it's a great outdoor area. We live literally our side yard, part of the 14,000 acre Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore Park. And when you're outdoors, there's no need for a mask, but I see that most people have them available. And so we're relatively lucky. So the next 2 classes that I'm teaching are plein air classes, which allows me to teach outdoors.
Right.
And we've reduced the size so we don't have a big crowd, and I can paint and step aside. Everybody has a mask. We can social distance. Everybody can see what I'm up to, and then they can paint, and I can come around and help from 6 feet away. So it's working.
Yeah, cool. So I guess I should ask the question differently. In a usual world, normal world, in 2 to 3 years' time, is there a location that you would like to visit and teach at?
Well, yeah, the Southwest of I had a workshop scheduled for Arizona actually, and in and out of the Southwest. I really like the desert country and some of the canyon country. My wife and I would like to visit, take a RV and stop and paint, and go to the next place and stop and paint. But we're like a lot of people, we're not traveling much and won't probably until a vaccine is available.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
No, it's changed our lives.
Yep.
Gal, is there anything else that you want to talk about or share with us?
I have a few watercolors, transparent watercolors. That's where I started as a kid.
Okay.
And so I'll just hold up a few of those.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, Rosie and a partner walking, and this is
that one.
like late winter, early spring up here in the park. And then again, this, you wouldn't know it, but this is late winter, early spring.
Okay.
So one of the first mallards to arrive.
And these are all watercolors.
All transparent watercolor on paper.
Okay.
And then the deep woods.
Oh, I like.
Yeah. And then, believe it or not, this is the view right outside my studio window in the winter, of course.
Oh, I like the shadows and the light. Yeah. That's
This is full sheet, so that would be 22 by 30. And then this is in the Lake Shore Park also. So Forest Monarch. So it's a full sheet vertical. I have to do like this to be able to see the whole thing.
Oh,
and then
that one on our website.
Yeah, tucked away right down here are 2 white-tailed deer. So we have a lot of deer in the Lakeshore Park.
Hey, are you guys seeing more squirrels and rabbits and deer?
Because of the lack of people. We did earlier in the year, but we happen to live, I live in Empire, Michigan, which is, right in the Lakeshore Park. It's very close to Glen Arbor. It's 23 miles from Traverse City. It's half hour from Frankfort. So we're right in the middle of a pretty popular tourist area. It's not as crowded as last year, but people are still coming north, and I just hope they do the hand sanitizer, wash, stay away from each other, and wear the mask. That's all I hope. Yeah, here's early spring.
Oh, that's nice.
The back roads of the park. And these are all transparent watercolor.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I started with watercolor, transparent watercolor. That's probably my first love. And seems like I always go back there too.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I should let everyone know that anything that you've seen today is for sale.
Absolutely.
And if you can't find it on our website, please do get a hold of us. You can call 616-935-7337, or you can email us at letter C, number 2, letter C, gallery@gmail.com. And we will get back to you. We'll get a hold of Mark, find out the prices and the sizes. We can send you better images. We'll do whatever it takes to get you comfortable with it. We'll hold it up for you, put it in a room, just do whatever we can to help you. And with that, please do visit our website. We appreciate everyone supporting artists. We have many artists that they live off the income of their art, and we need to continue supporting them. So have a really good day. And
you too.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. And
Rosie says hi too. And thank you.
Hi, Rosie. Hi, Kashi.
Yeah, she's here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, have a good time. Thank you. See you later. All right. Bye-bye.